Take a moment to recall a specific childhood memory. Maybe it's your first day of kindergarten or a birthday party where a relative made a scene. Now consider the possibility that a significant portion of that mental image never actually happened. Neuroscience indicates that the human brain routinely modifies or generates details of these core experiences, a process that occurs without our conscious awareness. This contradicts the popular view that our minds function like an objective video recorder, capturing raw footage and archiving it for faithful playback. Research shows that memory is a constructive process. Every time you bring an event to mind, the brain renders those neural connections into a malleable state, allowing for new edits before the memory is stored again. Because of this constant revision, we often end up with vivid recollections of people, conversations, and events that are biological fabrications. This creates a direct conflict between the biological reality of the brain and the weight we place on these memories in our courtrooms and our personal identities. To understand this glitch, we have to look at how data is physically stored. The brain doesn't save a single event as a unified file. Instead, it breaks the experience down into isolated sensory components, storing a specific smell in one region, a sound in another, and a visual detail elsewhere. When you attempt to remember, the brain pulls these distinct data points back into a coherent narrative. Because we rarely retrieve every fragment, the biological system synthesizes a logical filler to bridge the gaps, maintaining a smooth narrative flow without notifying the conscious mind. Consider a trip to Disneyland when you were 6. Years later, a sibling tells a story about how Mickey Mouse gave you a massive hug. You have no record of this, but you trust the source. Repeated exposure to this suggestion causes the brain to integrate the false detail into the neural network of the original memory. Eventually, you don't just believe it, you can see it. A simple observation from a trusted person has the power to overwrite the facts of your internal autobiography. Psychologists tested the limits of this vulnerability by intentionally trying to plant a completely false childhood event in the minds of volunteers. Researchers provided participants with several verified stories from their parents, but they included one fiction, a narrative claiming the volunteer had been lost in a shopping mall as a child. This bar chart shows the impact. A significant percentage of participants adopted the fake story as their own, organically generating sensory details about the specific stores they saw and the fear they felt. Curious, it raises a question. Why would human biology favor a system that intentionally creates such drastic fabrications? The answer is metabolic efficiency. Archiving a high-resolution, permanent record of every second of your life requires immense biological resources. Evolution prioritized rapid, predictive models for immediate survival over the energy-intensive process of perfect archival accuracy. It functions like a GPS system. If a stretch of road data is missing, the software calculates an approximated detour to keep you moving toward your destination, rather than letting the system fail. Fake memories aren't a biological error. They are the byproduct of a system optimized to help us navigate a complex world in real time. This survival feature becomes a liability in modern contexts, specifically when we rely on human memory for forensic accuracy, like interviewing a witness to a car accident. If an investigator asks, "Did you see the broken headlight?" the phrasing embeds a specific assumption. This can plant a false visual node in the witness's mind, making them more likely to recall seeing shattered glass that was never actually there. Our digital environment accelerates this process. A curated digital image often provides a much clearer, more accessible reference point than the actual messy experience. Over time, the brain defaults to the digital photo, frequently overwriting the raw physical experience with the curated version from your feed. While our recollections are functional enough for daily life, we have to recognize that absolute confidence in a memory is not the same thing as evidence of its accuracy. To see this in action, pick a memory you're certain of and ask a witness to describe their version. You may find your two certainties don't align. Navigating reality requires a level of skepticism toward our own minds, acknowledging that the brain will always favor a complete story over a perfectly accurate one. Tell us in the comments if you've ever caught your brain rewriting your own history.